Hello everyone, this is Orlando from A Collector's Dream. And today we're going to continue the series of the 1888 N162 Goodwin Champions, the complete set, the #1 set on the PSA registry. So now we are in part 10. So we have one more part to do, but this is really one of the best parts of this cards of this series. And that is the we're going to get into the boxing cards. So first, let's look at the back here, and we'll take a look at the cards here that we got here. We'll leave this one here. We'll grab another one so we can look at the back. So first one we're going to start off with is Jack Dempsey. So we'll look at the back here, and we'll see that the boxers. So we're going to go with the Jack Dempsey, J. Kilrain, Mitchell, Jem Smith, and John L. Sullivan. And then we'll finish off the set with the last one. Will be in the next video, which will be the Buffalo Bill and the Strongest Man, and a few other really cool cards in this series. But right now, we're going to start with one of the biggest cards in the set, and that is the Jack Dempsey. And this one is in a 7.5. That's the highest graded example in both PSA and SGC. And Jack Dempsey, there are two Jack Dempseys, but this is the original Jack Dempsey. And his nickname was Non-Périel. Non-Périel. It's a French name, and it means with no equal. And he had no equal back in the day because this Jack Dempsey was the first holder of the World Middleweight Championship back in 1884. And he held that title all the way through 1891. He was an incredible fighter, and he basically defeated almost everyone that he fought with. He only lost 3 fights in his entire career. And again, it says in his first 65 fights, he only lost 3 times. And basically this guy was really the first big boxer as far as the middleweight champion of the world. And they actually created the middleweight belt for him. Dempsey, at the end of his career, and he really hadn't lost any fights, but his career ended with when he fought Bob Fitzsimmons, who really beat him pretty bad. And even though he was losing in the fight, Dempsey wouldn't give up, and the fight continued until Fitzsimmons knocked him out. And later it was determined that he had tuberculosis, that Jack Dempsey had contracted tuberculosis. And then he eventually passed away from that at the age of 32. So an incredible fighter. Take a good look at Jack Dempsey, the original Jack Dempsey. And you can see the ring. It was like a post there in the background there. And you see how that's Jack Dempsey. They were called pugilists back in the day, but pugilist was a boxer. And look at this beautiful card. And that's the ring, and that's his shoes and the pants, and just incredible with that boxing pose that he had. And that is Jack Dempsey. And the picture of Jack Dempsey that's in the Wikipedia is the same picture. Almost the same one. And his name was actually John Edward Kelly, but he changed it to Jack Dempsey. And then eventually in the 30s, there came another Jack Dempsey. So that is Jack Dempsey, the first middleweight champion of the world. And again, this is one of the more expensive cards in the entire set, along with the next one that I'm going to show you. And this is the biggest boxing card in the entire set. And that's the John L. Sullivan. And John L. Sullivan, this one is in a 7. There is 1/8. And John L. Sullivan is the second highest graded John L. Sullivan card out there. And John L. Sullivan was really the main guy in boxing back in the day. I'll show you a good picture of actually what he looked like. And that is John L. Sullivan there in 1882. And John L. Sullivan, it was just a beast. This guy, nobody could beat him. He was called the Boston Strong Boy. He's recognized as the first heavyweight champion of the world. And he held that championship for over 10 years, from 1882 to 1892. He's generally recognized as the last heavyweight champion in the bare knuckle boxing rules. And, he was a cultural icon in the late 19th century, arguably the first boxing superstar, and one of the world's highest paid athletes of that era. And, he literally didn't lose any fights at all. And he fought, they don't really know because they didn't keep records, but they say that he fought over 600 times. And I'll just give you another close-up of this card here real quick. Give you a good look at that John L. Sullivan. And as you can see, this is the heavyweight championship ring that they made for John L. Sullivan. And there he is in the boxing ring, and that's what John L. looked like. And, it says that he went on exhibitions. He was the Boston Strong Boy. And as a youth, he was arrested several times for fighting. And then as he grew up, he went on to continue his fighting, but he went on exhibition tours, offering people money to fight him. Sullivan won more than 450 fights in his career. They say it was 600, but here it says 450. Still 450 fights in your career. That's just incredible. He challenged anybody and everybody. And in 1884, he went on a coast-to-coast tour by train with 5 other boxers. They were scheduled to hold 195 fights in 136 cities and towns over 238 days. To help promote the tour, Sullivan announced that he would box anyone at any time during the tour under the Queensberry rules for $250. Well, he knocked out 11 men during that tour. Nobody beat him. And there was no formal boxing title during that day. And then he became the champion, and they actually created the belt for him. It says, when modern authorities refer to the heavyweight championship of the world, they're likely referring to the championship belt presented to Sullivan in Boston on August 8, 1887. And this is an 1888 card that shows when he actually got the belt. So in 1887, he got the belt. The belt was inscribed, and we'll see if we can see it on here. You can't now. Now remember, these cards were printed by hand. So you can see in this particular card that the black kind of moved when they printed the plate. The plate just slightly moved on that. And that's common for a lot of the cards back in the day, but let's take a look at the belt. That's the championship belt that they made for John L. Sullivan. And the belt, go ahead and give you a good look at the John L. Sullivan in a PSA 7, second highest graded card of John L. Sullivan from 1888. And so it says that the belt was inscribed, presented to the champion of champions, John L. Sullivan, by the citizens of the United States. And it's the centerpiece featured, centerpiece featured the flag of the U.S., Ireland, and the United Kingdom. So he was really the top fighter, and everybody tried to beat him. And in 1888, the year this card was made, Sullivan fought Charlie Mitchell for 39 rounds, and it was a draw. And that was one of the fights that he didn't win, but it was a draw. So we'll take one more look at the Sullivan, considered the best fighter of the 19th century and the first heavyweight champion of the world. So he fought Mitchell. Here's Mitchell. Here's Mitchell in an 8, which is the highest graded Mitchell card. I think I have almost all the highest graded boxing cards except for one. Well, in the Sullivan, there's only a 7. But going back to the fight here with Charlie Mitchell, he actually, was a tie. And Charlie Mitchell was born in England. He was the English champion. And he had exceptional ability using the ring rules to his advantage. So he was kind of more of a dancer type guy, and moving around the ring. There's Charlie Mitchell, what he looked like back then. And again, he was a heavyweight champion in England. He often fought men who outweighed him 30 to 40 pounds though. And Mitchell, took on all comers in London. And in 1880, he became the boxing instructor for the International Athletic Club. And in order to, it says in 1882, Billy Madden, a former tutor and backer of John L. Sullivan, put on an open weight boxing tournament in England in order to find a challenger for John L. Sullivan, because nobody really wanted to fight him. And but Mitchell, did end up fighting him, and did he toured the United States with a Canadian, Jack Kilrain, and they went out also with John L. Sullivan. Mitchell was in Kilrain's corner when he fought John L. Sullivan for the World Championship. So Mitchell and Kilrain were friends, and Mitchell fought John L. Sullivan in 1883, knocking him down. But the police halted the fight because what happened was that they were not allowed to fight bare knuckle back in the day. And this is the Mitchell in an 8. They weren't allowed, so they arrested him. And then they arrested him. And the second meeting took place in 1888 and in France in a driving rain. And it went on for over 2 hours. At the end, both men were unrecognizable and suffered much loss of blood. Neither could lift his arms to punch, and the contest was considered a draw. If you can imagine, fighting for more than 2 hours. I think they went somewhere like 70-something rounds. At the end, it ended up that they were arrested. They were arrested, and but John L. Sullivan escaped, and he was not arrested, and he came back to the United States because they were not allowed to fight at that time bare knuckles in certain places. So there's the Charlie Mitchell card. Again, that he was the English champion. And I also have the Charlie Mitchell card in a 7. So I have Charlie Mitchell in an 8 and the 7. Let's take a good look at the Charlie Mitchell card here. And he was one of the English champion. And again, a heavyweight champion. He did fight John L. Sullivan, and he fought a bunch of the other guys like Kilrain. And he was a tough fighter, but he really, couldn't beat John L. Sullivan. So, let's see, where am I here? So the next one I'm going to share with you here is Kilrain. And Kilrain here is in a 5. I think the highest graded Kilrain, is a 6. I don't think there's anything higher than that. I have to double check on that and see. But anyway, let's get to Jake Kilrain. And he was an American bare knuckle fighter, also back in the 80s. And he was a country boy from Long Island. And, at the age of 20, he had been recognized as the toughest fighter at the mill where he worked. He worked at a little mill there. And Kilrain was also a champion rower, having won the National Amateur Sculling Championship. But he took on, in 1883, he became a professional prize rider, and he fought most of the guys that we've mentioned here. His record was, he was 31-5, so he was a good boxer, but he ended up losing to the big guys, which are John L. Sullivan and all that. And Kilrain is best known for, let's take a good look at Kilrain's card. It's a beautiful card. Again, they're all beautiful cards. And Kilrain is perhaps best known for challenging John L. Sullivan in 1889 in the last World Heavyweight Championship prize fight decided with bare knuckles. So it was a last bare knuckle fight, and it was Kilrain, and here's a poster of the fight there with Kilrain and John L. Sullivan before that fight. And they fought, they actually fought into 76 rounds. It was a hard-fought contest. Kilrain lost at the start of the 76th round after 2 hours and 16 minutes. And when Mike Donovan, his second, threw in the sponge, Kilrain had not wanted to give up, thinking he could outlast Sullivan. but Donovan defended his action, insisting that Kilrain would have died had the fight gone on. In any case, Kilrain-Sullivan fight can rightly be listed among the greatest fights of pre-modern era. So Kilrain continued to fight for another 10 years after the Sullivan fight with gloves at that time. They started fighting with gloves after that. And his most significant win was a 44-round knockout of Boston's George Jeffrey in 1891. And he retired with only 3 losses. So he was a good fighter. Just could not beat, like any other fighter of the era, they just couldn't beat John L. So that is the Kilrain card in a 5. And then the last fighter, probably the least known of all of them, is Jem Smith. And Jem, one of my lowest graded cards, I only have, out of the 50 card set, I only have 3 cards that grade a 3. So this is one of my lowest graded. I've been trying to upgrade this card. It's been a tough one to find. Not really. Basically, he's just one of the commons in this set as far as the boxers, because he wasn't one of the top boxers. But I will show you what Jem Smith looked like, and that is Jem Smith. Tough, strong guy back in the day, and they all were. They had to be tough. He was a bare knuckle prize fighter and heavyweight champion of England. And he also was inducted into the Bare Knuckle Boxing Hall of Fame. All of these guys are in the Hall of Fame. In 1881, Jem Smith fought the bare knuckle fight. At 18, he started fighting, and he fought against Frank Slavin, where he beat Slavin and in Belgium. And he became the champion, the English champion. And Smith fought his first heavyweight title in 1884. In England, and he won by TKO in the 13th round. He also fought Jake Kilrain, which we showed earlier. I'll give you a good look at Jem Smith. He also fought Jake Kilrain in 1887 in defense of his heavyweight title. The match lasted 2.5 hours after 106 rounds and was called a draw due to darkness. Back in those days, these guys fought, until they got beat up. They're done, they quit, and they didn't quit. This is when men were men. So they didn't quit, they just fought, basically, like one of the guys said, until they died, or until they were so beat up that they couldn't even lift their arms and fight anymore. So tough guys back in those days were the boxers. So these are the 5 boxers of the Goodwin Champions and the top boxers of the 19th century. So again, you've got the Jack Dempsey in a 7.5. You've got John L. Sullivan, the best fighter and the champion back in the day, in a 7. You have Charlie Mitchell, another champion who fought for championships. Another great American fighter here, Charlie Mitchell, in an 8. And then you've got Jake Kilrain and Jem Smith. So those are the 5 boxers in the 1888 Goodwin Champions set. And I also have another, some of that baby right up there too, the double. This we'll use eventually for some type of trade. So anyway, guys, that is it. This is the boxers, or the pugilist for the 1888 Goodwin Champions set. These are a pretty expensive card, especially the John L. Sullivan and the Dempsey, and really anything in a high grade like an 8 here, it's pretty tough to find. So if anybody knows who's got a Jem Smith, there is a 7 out there that I've been looking for, and hopefully I'll get that one day. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Got one more part of this Goodwin Champions set, the #1 set on the registry. I hope you guys are enjoying it. I'm not getting many views on this, but it's very interesting stuff, and it's good history. So I'm hoping that eventually people will look back at these videos and really enjoy them. So thanks for watching, guys. Orlando from A Collector's Dream. Have an awesome, awesome day, and I'll catch you on the next one.